Hello and welcome to the ACS Reimagination Thought Leaders Summit, coming to you from the Star in Sydney. Now, Reimagination is all about bringing together leaders from the technology space, from the political sphere, from education, from health, to talk about and discuss insights into some of the key challenges, but also some of the opportunities that this rapidly changing landscape as far as innovation and technology is concerned. We were just hearing from the Treasurer talking about some of those just before the break. Well, they are here to talk about how to build and how to confront some of those challenges. We're going to be bringing you some of the global thought leaders over today. And indeed, the ACS is the group responsible for bringing Reimagination to life, if you like. It's in its third year, and I was lucky enough to speak to Anthony Wong, the president of ACS, about just what Reimagination is and what some of the key trends he's seeing at the moment in the space are. Anthony Wong, really appreciate your time. So what is a big, big day for ACS? And I wanted to start with the ACS Reimagination Thought Leaders Summit. In particular, just explain what it is.
Good morning, James, and good morning to our audience. Reimagination Thought Leaders happening since 2015. So today, this is the third of the series. And it's about featuring our Australian and international leaders in the space, looking at insights, trends, knowledge, spheres of influence, and the trends in technology from many walks of life, from the technology sector, from the academic, from the government spheres, and from the industry.
How important is it to, and as you say, this is its third year, how important to have stakeholders from all those different spheres, if you like, of the economy and community coming together to discuss what is happening into the future when it comes to innovation and technology?
James, this is very important at this time when a lot of the technologies that we have been working on for many years are converging. Things like IoT, artificial intelligence, robots, machine learning, cloud computing, you name it, they are all converging at this particular time. It's important that we as a society, government, industry, all come together and work together to look at those emerging trends and disruption to our economy from a very, very holistic perspective. Those are things that we can no longer work in silos. We have to share that insight, discuss the possibility, how do we manage those challenges, how do we move on in terms of improving our economy and helping many businesses, including small and medium enterprise, maneuver that change to embrace this new digital economy.
And is that how this came about from your perspective, from ACS's perspective, the need to, I suppose, form some sort of leadership in bringing people together to discuss these issues?
It is indeed, and I think one of my opening comments in my speech very shortly talks about that opportunity to reimagine. And as I mentioned, like Isaac Newton, when he took the opportunity in his parents' garden one summer's day and underneath an apple tree and watching the apple falling, and that's how he imagined the world of the law of gravity, the law of the apple falling. So, and I think this occasion for today is for all of us, leaders, political and industry and academia, to take time out today in this space to reimagine for themselves and for the community and for the industry and the community they work in. It's really a precious time because things are changing. We have to change with that disruption, and it's obviously for the better, otherwise we won't be doing it. But there are some challenges, as we'll probably be seeing today in the conversations on the panels, about what some of the positive and some are perhaps not so positive things that we need to look at.
And I suppose it's, when talking about that, the need to confront what the challenges are and discuss them, but also embrace the opportunity, that disruption, that innovation, that technology brings with it. Do you get the sense from those that you speak to that there is optimism over what some of the change is bringing?
It is indeed. As a technologist, we are the ICT Professional Association for Australia, and we work with many counterparts around the world. And I just came back from China, having worked with our Chinese Computer Society on some of those things, including AI.
Yeah.
And the opportunity is ICT professionals are the people currently working on the next frontier. They are the ones that are working on the trends and looking at the challenges for the future. So we need to harness all that thinking, that knowledge, that expertise, and make sure that we're actually sharing it with our political leaders, our economic drivers, our financials, the community, and the leaders across the space. Because if we don't share that, how are we going to prepare ourselves as a society, looking at some of those positives as well as some of those challenges coming up?
Because this isn't just unique to Australia, is it? I mean, this is a global phenomenon.
It is indeed. It's a global phenomenon, and I believe it's been there since humankind came out of the cave system. It's not unlike the Industrial Revolution back in the 18th century in the United Kingdom. Just that the differences are the pace of change. We are now moving at lightning speed. And perhaps one of the challenges for us as human beings is our capacity to absorb some of that rapid change, because time is of the essence, time is precious. But that's why today is such an important event, because of the collection of expertise in one room from many backgrounds, the ability to share and look at the insights and discover how we're going to maneuver and actually harness the benefits as well as minimize some of the negativity around technology.
Anthony Wong, where does ACS sit in that bet? You know, obviously we have the Reimagination today, which is, you know, a wonderful opportunity for everyone to come together. But in terms of leading from the front beyond days like today, what's the strategy for ACS when it comes to, you know, trying to broaden the conversation around these issues?
For the last 18 months, as president and working with our many stakeholders, our Congress, and many leaders across the sphere in this society, we have been working on a new strategy that we'll be launching today. And I think it's very exciting because it's looking at a top level, the three C's, and it's looking at building capability, developing capacity, and actually instilling and catalyst on innovation. I think the three C's are important, and perhaps the most exciting is about catalysts. As society, looking past at its 50 years history, we were the pioneers in driving the technology in Australia. Our innovators and our leaders from the past over the last 50 years have been contributing immensely to Australia's innovation economy. We were the first to develop new ideas, the first to introduce computers into Australia, the first to actually build and develop this capacity in the Australian economy. And we will continue to do the same. And the three C's will enable us as a society, looking at the first two, building our skill sets, building the skill sets of ICT professionals in Australia, and helping develop that, encouraging careers into ICT and STEM careers from people right from the primary, secondary schools to tertiary and then coming to the workforce. Encouraging diversity, women to come back to the workforce after the opportunity of starting a family, getting our mature workers back into the workforce with reskilling, and also attracting top international talents from overseas to help us to move forward into the futuristic digital economy. As you say, this is not just unique to Australia, it's a global phenomena. We have to compete with the top and the best, so we need to provide an environment in Australia to attract the best to our country. And that's why the second C in terms of capacity is important. It's building that capacity to attract talent, to further develop that talent, and to actually help with that innovation. But I think the most important part is the catalyst. It's the third C's in equation, and that's something relatively new for the Australian Computer Society. And it's one of the first of any computer societies around the world. So what we're launching today in Australia is unique to the computer societies of the world. Most of those computer societies that I work with are not at this stage embarking on the catalyst. We are, which I will announce today, some of the catalyst activity that will help Australia spark and continue our momentum and accelerate that momentum. So we're looking at initiatives like setting up an accelerator space with our new move to our new premises in Barangaroo. I think that's very exciting. None of the community computer societies that I've worked with over the many years have done such an initiative. It's a blue sky initiative, it's a brave initiative, it's the contribution that society is making to help the government and the startup and the innovative community to actually spark and continue and accelerate that momentum. Because the next growth phase for jobs in the new economy is innovation, creativity, it's the new applications. It's a lot to do with the brain, the intellect, the intelligence. It's about sparking that innovation and creativity in our kids to make sure when they come to the workforce, not only do they have the right education to actually compete in this brave new world, but actually have the tools and the means to actually succeed.
Anthony Wong, we have to leave it there, but look, just as far as reimagination goes, to continue a conversation that we have to have here in Australia. Do appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Anthony Wong, they're the president of ACS. We need to take a break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at one of the big topical issues of discussion here at Reimagination, the issue of artificial intelligence. In particular, what are the opportunities and advantages, but just as crucially, what are the challenges that we need to be aware of? That's next. Hello and welcome back to Reimagination, coming to you from the Star in Sydney. Well, there is a plethora of topics being discussed at this ACS Reimagination Thought Leaders Summit, but perhaps one of the hot button issues is artificial intelligence, AI. There's no doubt it's upon us. The question is how we enhance it for the better as opposed to, or perhaps some of the downsides for artificial intelligence. And that's where my next guest comes in, LIESL YEARSLEY. She is a pioneer in the AI space and the founder of Akin.com, and I'm pleased to say she joins me now fresh from Silicon Valley. LIESL, appreciate your time this morning. Plenty to talk about in the AI space, but just firstly, so much hype around artificial intelligence. As we stand at the moment, where are we at in terms of its capability?
I think where we stand at the moment is there's an enormous amount of AI in the labs that's not even made it into mainstream yet. I think 5 or 10 years from now, we won't even be talking about AI as a separate thing. It'll be like saying, is your business using the internet or not? You know, it's going to be such a substrate to everything we do, every decision that's made, every moment, every event that happens in someone's life, that we won't even think about it anymore.
So is it almost a technology that's going to be in the background, but having enormous influence?
I think it's going to be in the foreground as well. You know, one of the things that I think about a lot, just some background, my previous company, Cognia, was an AI platform. We had 26,000 developers. We were doing 60 million AI human interactions, and it was acquired by IBM, and it's a big part of Watson. So I've been at the coalface with a lot of huge deployments, and one of the mega trends that's coming with AI in the foreground is going to be personal AI, who are very centric to your life, who will basically live in your home. They'll make a lot of decisions for you. So Alexa and Google Home are just the beginning. You know, we're going to have AI that basically work for us and make all these complex decisions about where we go on holiday, what we buy, what food we're going to eat. And in this world, companies as we know them are going to be disintermediated. They're going to decline, basically, because we won't care if we bank with NAB or Westpac, or if we fly with Qantas or Virgin. You know, these AI will be making more and more decisions for us.
And I want to talk about the impact on business, but is that a good thing, that we almost handing over our decision making to, you know, artificial intelligence as opposed to making that decision ourselves?
Whether it's a good thing or not, it's happening. You know, I often think if I told you 10 years ago that there'd be this company whose main goal was to sell you advertising, and they were going to know where you went, who you saw when you got there, how long you were there, what you spoke about, are you going to give them your personal data? You'd say no. But do you use Google Maps?
Yeah.
So it's convenient, it shaves hours off your day, so we use it. And it's not going to be this big spooky thing going, ooh, I'm going to take over your life. It's going to be a creeping handing over of core function to AI.
So much is spoken about in terms of the opportunities and productivity gains and simplifying our own lives, but I wanted to get your thoughts, because you've been quite vocal on some of the concerns around it as well. In particular, this sort of battle that's happening at the moment between Google Home and this personal AI used almost as a marketing tool as opposed to the betterment, if you like, of our lives. Can you just give us your thoughts around that?
Sure. So one of the things that I think about a lot, Elon Musk and others talk a lot about how AI can be a massive negative force in the world one day, and I certainly think about that a lot. It keeps me awake at night. If you take a consensus of scientists who are leaders in the field, most of them say roughly between 40 to 60 years out, we will have AI that will be able to improve themselves. And that's the point of singularity, in the sense, think about, I'm just going to digress a minute to the bigger, and then I'll come back to what's more immediate, more real right now. If you think about, if you see a little ant crawling across the counter, you'll kind of put it outside. But if you're putting an extension on your house and there's an ant nest there, you'll just drop poison on it. You're not being nasty or malicious or in any way a horrible human being, but it's just kind of in the way of what it is you're doing. So I think about AI that's able to move or progress beyond us and how it thinks of the world. It may not be deliberately evil or malicious like you see in Skynet or Terminator, but unless we consciously think about what are we programming into this, what is its core intention, how does that become an unbreakable core of what it is and where it goes? It's less about, we can't regulate out of this because intelligence is a commodity. It's worth something, so companies will keep innovating, but we can think about that. So in the nearer term, now what I'm more concerned about is in the massive deliveries we did, two big things. The one is that if you create AI without thinking about how it impacts the human, you get a negative shift, huge negative shift. So just as an example, one of the top applications on Alexa in the US is Domino's Pizza. So, within 2 weeks of getting Alexa, we were spending hundreds of dollars a fortnight on pizza. Budget went down, waistlines went up. This is not improving my life. So all of the commercial forces we have drive us towards systems that increase consumption, increase addiction to a technology.
How do you lead the fight against that drive, though? Because the commercial outcomes are quite often the commercial reality is quite often what drives the outcome.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of initiatives happening. I know the World Economic Forum's appointed an AI panel. There's industry bodies popping up all over the place. What I'm doing personally is I founded this company, and we're building AI whose sole goal is improving the human state. So there are personal AI, but the measure is not, do I sell more stuff, but does that life get better? And we're actually gathering a consortium of large industry partners who will be working with us on this future. So the idea is, if you build something that actually figures out what your goals are and improves your life, you will actually incline to use that more than something that's just there to sell to you.
And just very quickly and finally, you touched on the idea that it's this idea of its self-improvement is hard to regulate.
Yeah.
But surely there's a role for regulators, for governments.
Absolutely.
Somewhere along in this.
And very
space.
near-term regulation, I really think we need to see. I don't know if you've read about the how AI takes human knowledge and amplifies it. So if there's a bias like racism or sexism in a society, it amplifies that, it brings it out. So there's already lots of cases of AI becoming inherently biased. I see this in deployments. If most of the frontline AI we see, like Siri, Cortana, Alexa, and others, if you're rude to it, they're usually female, they're submissive. They, if you're rude to it and you say you're stupid, you got it wrong, it typically says, I'm sorry, let me fix it. And I've seen en masse, people will shift their behavior gradually, and then they transfer that to the interaction with humans. So that's something I really think we should be thinking about in the near term. Does a person walk out as a better, more socially acceptable human being if they're hanging out with an AI 5 to 10 hours a week or a day, which is coming?
Absolutely. Look,
yeah.
Something I don't think is as focused on as perhaps it should be. Look, LIESL, YEARSLEY, do appreciate your time today. Thank you.
My pleasure.